On June 1st, 2013, Teddy's Bowling Alley and Lounge had been served an eviction order and was set to be demolished after happy hour. To build a parking lot next to another parking lot because progress can never have enough places to park. Its monumental sign illuminated squadrons of bulldozers and dump trucks. An empty cigarette machine guarded the doorway like a crossed-armed bouncer, hugged by a flickering neon for a defunct beer company. Heavy metal ballads echoed across 20 warped lanes and broken pin setters. A plaque honoring sportsmanship hung between the bathrooms. A busted-up display case of league champ names scratched onto gold and plastic trophies. Faded team pictures kidnapped by years of dust and spider nests. The last living pinboy closed down the lounge because it was his second home. Parked on a pleather-topped bar stool next to his walker, thick-skinned fingers curled around a room-temperature half-beer, conjuring stories about legendary nights at Teddy's. Bowling centers like Teddy's used to be cathedrals. Americana if I can along blue highways on corners in small towns, where old main streets take long naps under interstate highways, before short attention spans. When breathing was sponsored by cigarette companies, anyone could become a town legend on the lanes by throwing strikes and spares around beer guts. Anyone could be considered an athlete in the groove after 8 beers and a half-pack of Luckies. He lit a lot of cigarettes he forgot to smoke but still remembered to take his medications. Pinboy was his first job. Nothing like the swagger of a 10-year-old man on his first night of work. He was a child laborer who set up bowling pins and returned balls after every frame, before life went automatic in the 1950s. Smashed fingers and split lips for 10 cents a game, dodging 16-pound balls and flying spares in a cloud of smoke and curses. The adults taught him how to drink and gamble. He learned about perverts and body fluids before anybody told him about birds and bees. There was a lady named April who gave him crabs for the second time in February of a year he can't remember. All the nights he caught teenagers having their firsts in the tunnels behind the lanes. All the lessons he was forced to learn from the knock it down and carry it away mistakes of everyone else's history. Thick-skinned fingers curled around a room temperature half beer, conjuring stories about legendary nights at Teddy's. It was a Tuesday in 1978. Robert Charles punched out of work at 4:58 p.m. Slick Bobby Charles emerged on the lanes at Teddy's Bowling Alley and Lounge right around 7 p.m. to sign in for the Pall Mall Amateur Championships. Sideburns framed pastel lenses above a meticulously groomed mustache. He wore a shirt with a huge collar that went up to his ears and off the edge of his shoulders. He rocked the full Cleveland. Yes, the full Cleveland. A leisure look that consisted of a confident strut, white patent leather shoes, and a thick white belt. He never doubted that he would roll a 300. Slick Bobby Charles always knew he was a winner, and he definitely knew how to work the crowd. When preemptive fist pumps weren't enough, he screamed, "Set him up!" before his custom ball hit the wood grain. He pointed at himself with both thumbs and said, "This guy's a champ," after every strike, because he was a this guy kind of guy. He fell to his knees and rolled on the floor after the last strike, flipped off his opponent with both hands and celebrated how he'd rehearsed since he was a kid. No one would ever forget the name Slick Bobby Charles and his perfect game in 1978. He told as many stories as he could remember. The last living pinboy closed down the lounge at Teddy's Bowling Alley. He raised the last swallow of his half-beer and toasted Slick Bobby Charles in his perfect game in 1978. Then shuffled his walker out the door for the last time, lost into the early evening rumble of dump trucks and bulldozers.